Hello students, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Baji IAS Academy. Today we will discuss most relevant and most important news articles given in the Hindu newspaper. See, before actually discussing this news article, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon so that the new updates we are coming up with new courses. So you will access such a new courses. Okay, that will be helpful in your preparation. Okay, so these are some of the most important and the most relevant news articles. They are given in the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so they are important for both prelims and mains examination point of view. The first very important news article is H5N1 virus. This is an influenza type of virus, and this has been affecting birds and also spreads to mammals including humans. So we will discuss about H5N1 virus and its subvariants and how it has been leading to the extinction of birds and other mammalian species. The next very important news article is a push for rehabilitation instead of jail term. See, this is regarding the increasing drug abuse in India, and youth are being addicted to drugs. So therefore, the government has been planning to decriminalize the drug addiction, and the Ministry of Social Justice and Welfare is also planning to ensure that there will be more de-addiction centers across the country. Right. So the next important article is safety concerns over E Pharma put center in a spot. So there has been an increase in the e-pharma services. E-pharma services are also similar to e-commerce services where the delivery of pharmaceutical drugs would be possible, right? So from the comfort of your home, you can order the medicine. This is about e-pharma. However, e-pharma lack the policy and proper regulation. So therefore, that has been leading to the selling of substandard drugs, low quality drugs, a low standard of drugs, and also selling drugs without a prescription. So therefore, there is a need for regulation, which has been a cause of concern. And fourth important article is Nicobar Project, and that has been violating the tribal rights. ST panel. This is National Commission for Scheduled Tribes panel says that the Great Nicobar Project that has been violating the tribal rights, particularly tribal people who are living in the Great Nicobar area. Okay. The next important article is NGT disappointed over delay in removal of burnt waste from Brahmapuram yard. So, as part of this article, we will try and understand what is NGT, when it was established, and what are the roles and responsibilities of the National Green Tribunal. And the sixth important article is close to 4,000 painted storks nesting in two AP villages. So, as part of this article, we will try and understand what are painted storks and what are its habitat, and where its habitat is located, and what is the conservation status of painted stork. See, the first important news article is regarding H5N1 virus. Okay, H5N1 virus. See, this is an influenza type of virus, and this has been infecting the birds, mammals, and even human beings also. Once birds infect with this virus, and that will lead to the large scale death, or human beings themselves need to cull these birds. Okay, first understand bird flu. Bird flu is a viral disease. Okay, so H5N1, all these varieties or all these subtypes are viral diseases, and these viral diseases affect wild birds, captive wild, captive wild birds, and domestic poultry. Okay, so they infect all these three types of birds, and this H5N1 or bird flu, also known as avian influenza. Okay, this is also known as avian influenza. There are two forms of avian influenza. One is low pathogenicity avian influenza and high pathogenicity avian influenza. See, this high pathogen avian influenza is extremely contagious. Contagious means it spreads from one bird to other bird, or one bird to human beings, or to mammals. So therefore, the high pathogenicity influenza is extremely contagious, and it kills approximately 90% of all chickens that catch these disease. Okay, so the birds which catch the high pathogenicity influenza, the mortality rate is around 90%. However, the low pathogenicity influenza, it mostly harmless. Even infected chickens will react with general flu cold like symptoms. Okay, so general flu cold like symptoms. So just understand the bird flu, and it is caused by H5N1 virus, and this is a viral disease that affects wild birds, captive wild and domestic poultry. Okay, so there has been a huge losses, economic losses as well, due to H5N5 virus or due to the bird flu virus. First, understand what this article says. Okay, so this is a deadly H5N1 outbreak, and that continues unabated globally. That has been spreading globally without any interruption or disruption. Since 2022, H5N1 since 2022, H5N1 has infected over 100 million birds. Okay, so it has so far infected 100 million birds, and that led to the death of around 50 million. Okay, that led to the death of around 50 million birds, and that this number also includes poultry birds. Okay, so poultry birds, and because of the infection, the poultry birds should be culled. Okay, should be culled. And if you understand, unlike previous outbreaks of which are highly pathogenic subtypes of avian influenza, H5N1 is heavily impacting the bird species. Okay, so unlike the previous influenza subtypes, H5N1 has been highly infectious, highly contagious virus disease, and that has been leading to the high mortality rate among the birds. So it is not just infecting the poultry birds, it is also infecting eagles, pelicans, geese, waterfowl, gulls, falcons, and short birds. Okay, so the infection is not just limited to the poultry birds, but it has also been spreading to the other birds. Okay, however, it is said that there is a high mortality in wild birds. So along with the poultry birds, there is a high mortality in the wild birds, and high mortality in wild birds could have a significant ecological consequences. It will have a significant ecological consequences. For example, they play a very important role. Birds play a very important role in food chain and food web. Okay, food chain and food web. So therefore, the mass death of such wild birds lead to the biodiversity losses. Okay, biodiversity losses. When the biodiversity losses have been taking place, that will also impact the pollination. Okay, that will also impact pollination, because birds play a very important and a crucial role in pollination. When pollination gets impacted, food production food production will face challenges. Food production will face challenges, and that will lead to world unable to feed its population. World unable to feed its 8 billion population. Okay, so these are the significant ecological and environmental consequences due to the influenza virus, and that has been leading to the mass death and mortality of these birds. Okay, so that will includes the consequences will include vulnerability of predators and alterations in species composition in affected ecosystems. For example, in an ecosystem, birds are infected with the avian influenza. Birds are infected with the avian influenza, then the birds number will come down. When birds number will come down, then that will alter the species composition in a particular area. Okay, and that will also impact the biodiversity of a given area. However, there are several spillovers in the H5N1 virus. So what are those spillovers? The spillover is the virus. The H5N1 virus is not just infecting the birds, but it has also been infecting mammals and human beings globally. Okay, so human beings are also mammals. So therefore, the H5N1 virus has also a spillover effect. It has been infecting the mammals as well. So when H5N1 spreads from birds to mammals, the virus could accumulate. Okay, so imagine a virus from a bird spreads to the human being or a mammal. Then the virus will accumulate. The virus will accumulate in a new host. Okay, accumulate in a new host, and mutations take place. So mutations are a change in genetic makeup or genetic structure of a virus so that it can be able to withstand immunity of a new host. Immunity of a new host. or it could be able to change its genetic structure according to the conditions. So therefore, that could accumulate and mutations take place and acquire the ability to initiate human outbreaks. So once it is able to accumulate and mutations takes place, and it can spread from one individual to the another individual, and since it is most contagious, there would be a public health emergency like situation like what we have experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. A few sporadic cases of human H5N1 infections have also been reported in few countries, right? Ecuador, Cambodia, Chile. So these countries also reported the infection from the birds to the human beings. So therefore, the measures also suggested as part of this article. Okay, so we have briefly discussed this article. Now let's try and understand what exactly has been discussed in this article. So this year, the world has been witnessing a highly pathogenic and highly contagious H5N1. So H5N1 virus, and this virus has been a major cause of killing and mass mortality of birds globally. Okay, so this virus is also known to cause severe diseases among birds. Okay, so it is not just causing severe diseases among birds, but it also have a spillover effects and that infecting mammals, including human beings. Okay, so the virus also detected in mammalian species and also in humans. However, avian influenza has several subtypes. Okay, this virus has several subtypes, and among these subtypes, H5N1 is most severe and most contagious virus type, and it also has the high mortality. It also cause high mortality in birds. Okay, so H5N1 is a one subtype in avian influenza. It is a one subtype in avian influenza. So H5N1 is known to cause mass mortality of birds. However, since 2022, over 100 million birds. Since 2022, over 100 million birds are infected with the H5N1 virus, and that has been led to the killing of at least 50 million bird species and poultry birds. Okay, so this has been led to the killing of at least 50 million bird species and also the mass culling of poultry birds. However, H5N1 has been heavily impacting the wild birds. Okay, so there has been a high mortality, high contagious nature of H1N1 virus, particularly in the wild birds. Okay, so when wild birds, some species of wild birds are in the verge of extinction, so they are on the verge of extinction. If H5N1 virus infect those birds and led to the death of those species, then the verge of extinction, the birds are on the status of verge of extinction, they will extinct, right? So they will extinct permanently because they are in the lower numbers, and once H5N1 virus infects them due to high mortality, they will extinct and permanently disappear. However, please understand one case of the verge of extinction. The species called California condors. Okay, so please understand this is the California condor. Okay, so this is one variety of the vulture species. Okay, so due to diclofenac, the vulture species have also are also at the verge of extinction, but due to the H5N1 virus further intensifying the species extinction due to its mass scale mortality, right? So this says that 20 California condor species, and this species on the verge of extinction since 1980s, have also been succumbed to H5N1 avian influenza. So at least 20 California condor species have already died. In the wild, there are just only 200 California condor species remain left. So, if H5N1 virus further infects these species, the California condors, then the number will further decline. Out of 200, the number will decline, and since they are on the verge of extinction, if it infects this species, then that would lead to the mortality of these critically endangered species. However, please understand, the birds which are infected with the H5N1 virus, the most severely impacted were eagles, pelicans, geese, waterfowl, gulls, falcons, and shorebirds. These are the species. They are highly infectious, or they impacted by the H5N1 virus. So it is not just limited to the above mentioned species, but H5N1 virus has also been impacting the poultry birds, which has been leading to the mass mortality of the poultry birds. Okay. However, the impact of the H5N1 virus on the wild birds, the impact of the H5N1 virus on wild species is not similar across all wild species. There is a varied impact on wild species, but it is based on the following grounds. What are the grounds? The grounds are its level of exposure to the virus and its geographical location and migratory patterns of affected species. So all these three factors are also influencing or impacting the virus or the infection to these birds. Okay, so how this virus has been spreading to animals or other mammals. So we get to know that the virus has been infecting the birds along with the mammals as well. So how this has been spreading to the mammals or animals? We get to know that the virus is highly contagious. Okay, so this virus is highly contagious. H5N1 virus can also occasionally spill over from birds to animals. Okay, through through direct contact, either through direct contact or indirect contact, right? Either with the birds or bird droppings. This virus also spreads to, or also have a spillover effects from birds to mammals, including human beings. Species which are already affected with the virus, the H5N1 virus, include the sea lions, minks, fox, wild beasts, and skunks. So apart from domestic animals like dogs and cats, right? So these animals or these mammals have also infected with the H5N1 virus. Since there is a high mortality rate of H5N1 virus, there is a need for caution. Okay, there is a need for caution with the H5N1 virus, right? So the transmission of H5N1 virus from birds to mammals is very rare. Okay, even though it has been impacting the birds in a large scale, particularly the wild birds, there is the transmission chances of this virus from birds to mammals is very rare. But when it does occur, it is a cause of concern. So it is rare, but if it occurs, if it spreads from animals, if it spreads from the birds to mammals, then it will be a cause of concern. Because why it is a cause of concern, we already discussed. It can accumulate in the host, or it can accumulate in the animal species, and once it is able to accumulate, it can undergo mutations. Okay, it can undergo mutations. So once it is able to undergo mutations, then that could develop the ability to spread or to become contagious virus from one human being to other human being. So therefore, please also remember the mortality rate. The mortality rate among humans is above 60 percentage. Imagine H5N1 virus. H5N1 virus, 100 people are infected with this virus. 100 people are infected virus. There is a high probability that at least 60 people will die. 60 people infected with the H1N5 virus, H5N1 virus will die after the infection. So therefore, it has a very high mortality rates. Okay, so there are certain measures which are suggested. These measures, if taken properly, then the spillover effects can be reduced or prohibited, and also its infection to wild birds and the poultry birds could also be minimized. Okay, because of the current H5N1 outbreak, it has a devastating effect, right? So it has been a devastating effect on avian population. The devastating effect, we have already discussed the devastating effect. It has been affecting the wild birds and the poultry birds, and it was also a spillover effect to human beings, right? So this is not an endemic disease, but it has a global consequences, right? So it has a global consequences throughout the world. However, along with that, it also has a significant ecological and economic consequences. Economic consequences, particularly with respect to the poultry birds. Okay, this is particularly with respect to the poultry birds, and ecological consequences. We already discussed the ecological consequences regarding the biodiversity losses, right? Biodiversity losses and extinction of species. And apart from that, building better and efficient vaccines for avian and humans, right? We need to build better and efficient vaccines for avians and humans. So along with that, the genomic surveillance map, the genomic surveillance map should also be framed to understand the evolution of the virus, the accumulation, mutation, and the evolution of the virus should be understood by the genomic surveillance map. So therefore, it has been suggesting that we should have effective vaccines for both avian influenza and human influenza. We should also have the genomic surveillance map to for the continued evaluation of the virus. Okay, so along with these measures, one more measure suggested was the enhanced biosecurity measures. Okay, so enhanced biosecurity measure, and that has been needed to protect both human and public, both animal and public health protection require an enhanced biosecurity measures. So this is all about the H5N1 virus. Please remember all these points. These points are very important for both prelims and mains exams perspective. Let's jump into the next important news article. So the next important news article is regarding the rehabilitation, right? The rehabilitation centers or drug de-addiction centers. The drug de-addiction centers. We all know that India is a country with a more youth population, right? 68 percentage of our total population in the working age. In the working age. So therefore, with the huge population, there is also a possibility that the drug abuse, especially among the youth, has been increasing. So therefore, the government of India has also committed to completely eradicate drug abuse or drug addiction by the year 2050. Okay, by the year 2050. So in line with the above set goal, above set objective, the government has been planning to decriminalize the drug addiction. So therefore, it will provide an opportunity for the government and the people that the drug addiction centers will be established, and those drug addiction centers will register candidates who are already addicted with the drugs. So because of the criminalization of drug addiction, people are not coming forward to join the drug addiction center or the de-addiction centers. Okay, drug de-addiction centers. So once the government is able to decriminalize this, the people who are already infected with the drugs or drug abuse, they come forward and join the drug de-addiction centers, and this will help India achieve the set target of eliminating drug abuse by the year 2050. So in this context, let's try and understand this. So Union government has been debating or discussing about the decriminalizing consumption of narcotic drugs. Okay, the government has been discussing about the decriminalization of consumption of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. Okay, so it is likely to bring in a policy where addicts the drug addicts and the drug users will be able to submit to the treatment centers. Okay, so once the government is able to decriminalize the consumption of narcotic drugs, the drug addicts who are already addicted with the drugs and drug users will be able to come to the treatment centers will be able to come to the treatment centers. Okay, so when they are able to come to the addiction centers, and there is a possibility that they will be treated properly, right? They will be given adequate care so that they will not consume drugs again. Okay, so this will once when they are this will themselves in order to escape the criminal prosecution. Okay, so people generally not coming to the addiction centers or the drug de-addiction centers because of in order to escape the criminal prosecution, because once they get to know about the drug abuse, then criminal proceedings can be initiated against such an individual. So therefore, the government has been planning to decriminalize consumption of narcotic drugs and the psychotropic substances. However, there have been an increase in the vulnerable districts. Okay, there have been an increase in the vulnerable districts. So what are the vulnerable districts? Vulnerable districts are hotspots. Vulnerable districts are hotspots of drug addiction or drug abuse. Okay, So drug addiction or drug abuse. So according to some estimates, there have been a significant rise in the vulnerable districts from 272 to 370. So there has been an increase in 100 vulnerable districts in terms of drug abuse. So therefore, it points out to the need of ensuring that there is, I mean, more and more decriminalizing or more and more de-addiction centers need to be set up across different districts, but particularly in the vulnerable districts. However, we have a Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act. Okay, please remember this act, Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, and this act was passed in the year 1985. Okay, so this act says that consumption and consumption of any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substances may attract a jail term of 1 year. So it may attract the jail term of 1 year plus 20,000 rupees of fine. Okay, so this is a criminal offense. Even consumption of narcotic drugs and substances as per this act is a criminal offense. So therefore the government has been planning to decriminalize the consumption of narcotic drugs. Okay, once the government is able to decriminalize the consumption of narcotic drugs, then there is a possibility that whoever addicted to the drugs, they come forward and they join the drug de-addiction centers with the set up by the government. Okay, so as of now, the enforcement agencies, we have several enforcement agencies like task force at the state level. Okay, task force at the state level, and at the national level also there are several enforcement agencies which make sure that the drug supply chains are dismantled or destroyed. Okay, the enforcement agencies are now focusing on enforcement the supply chains. Okay, so they are targeting on the drug supply chains. Okay, the Social Justice Ministry is also running the countrywide awareness and rehabilitation campaigns. Okay, so the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has been running the countrywide awareness and rehabilitation campaigns that will help treat users who are already addicted with these drugs. Okay, so the awareness campaigns and the rehabilitation camps will help the people who are already affected with the or they are already addicted with these drugs. Now they will be treated as victims, not criminals. Okay, they will be treated as victims. So therefore it provides an enabling provision, it provides an enabling provision to treat the victims, but now they are not criminals. Whoever addicted with the drug will not be treated as criminals. Okay, now also understand, once the government is able to decriminalize the drug addicts, or once the government is recognize the drug addicts as victims rather than the criminals, there is a possibility that more and more numbers will more and more number of people will join in drug de-addiction centers which are set up by the Social Justice Ministry. So therefore, keeping this in mind, the Social Justice Ministry is preparing to scale up the network of 508 rehabilitation centers. Okay, the existing centers, the rehabilitation and de-addiction centers will be further upgraded, and the new rehabilitation centers will also be set up by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Okay, now the de-addiction facilities will also support the campaign for drug demand reduction. So please remember this drug reduction campaign. The name of the campaign is Nasha Mukti Bharat. Okay, this is Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign. Now the government has been running this campaign to reduce the influence of drugs, to reduce the addiction to drugs. Okay, there are various stakeholders involved in this Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign. The ministries, the central departments, central governments, state governments, including NGOs, are also part of the Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign to make India drug free. However, the Ministry of the Department of Social Justice and Empowerment has been intending to increase the rehabilitation centers and addiction or de-addiction treatment facilities. We have discussed the government has been planning to scale up the existing rehabilitation centers and the de-addiction treatment facilities, so that once the government is decriminalizes or the drug addicts are being looked upon as a victims, then there is a possibility that there will be high influx of these people into the rehabilitation centers and addiction treatment facilities. Okay. On the other hand, along with the above mentioned measures, the Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign, setting up rehabilitation camps and drug addiction treatment facilities, the government has also been pursuing tie-ups with spiritual and faith-based organizations. Right? The spiritual and faith-based organizations play a very crucial role in the life of a people. So they can influence the youth that not to take up drugs. They can explain well the consequences of taking drugs. So therefore, the government has been involving multiple stakeholders in this overall plan and the overall strategy, so that the drug addiction or the drug abuse can be minimized over a period of time gradually. Okay, so now along with that, also understand the government has been following an integrated approach. Okay, the government has been following an integrated approach. So what this integrated approach, we already discussed. The government has been pursuing an aggressive tie-ups with the spiritual based organizations and also the faith based organizations. So this is a part of the integrated approach. Okay, the tie-ups with the spiritual and faith based organizations, or any organizations that include whether it is a private sector or private sector with their own hospitals, educational institutions and counseling facilities. So all these institutions are part of the government's Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign. Okay, Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign. Along with that, they are also part of the government's integrated approach to make India drug free by the year 2050. Make India drug free by the year 2050. Okay, so this will, all the facilities will boost the drug demand reduction campaign. Okay, this will boost the drug reduction campaign. However, there is an example also given in this part, in this article. So what was the example? The example was the Ministry or the Department of Social Justice and Empowerment. They have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Brahma Kumaris. Okay, so they have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Brahma Kumaris of Mount Abu. This is located in Rajasthan. So they have signed a memorandum of understanding with Brahma Kumaris in Mount Abu, and this memorandum of understanding is particularly to spread the message on the Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign. Okay, this is particularly to spread awareness, information, knowledge, educate about the Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign and among youth, women and students. Okay, now apart from the above mentioned facilities or the above mentioned treatment facilities, most of the centers run under the Nasha Mukti Bharat campaign are supported by government. Okay, they are supported by the government, but they are mostly operated by the non-governmental organizations or any other voluntary organizations. So just government providing support to these de-addiction treatment facilities, but they are operated by the non-governmental organizations and any other voluntary organizations. See, in order to understand the drug problem, the massive drug problem in India, it is very important for us to understand why there is a huge drug problem in India. It is particularly because of the illegal drug trafficking which has been emanating to India from different parts. Okay, we need to understand a golden triangle and golden crescent. They are located. They are located on the eastern and western borders of India. First, understand the golden triangle. The golden triangle countries include Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, and Thailand. So these countries comprises the Golden Triangle. The Golden Triangle is the area in the Eastern Asia, so Southeast Asia. It is known for the cultivation of drugs. Okay, it is known for the cultivation of drugs. The these two areas, both Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle, are the areas where the world's largest the drug producers. Okay, they are illegally cultivating, producing drugs, and they are illegally transporting into India. Because of this, there has been a huge drug problem in India. So apart from the Golden Triangle, we need to also understand Golden Crescent. The Golden Crescent is located in Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan. Okay, so please remember the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle and where they are located. And because of these two regions across India's eastern borders and the western borders, there has been a huge drug problem and drug abuse in India. So now understand the substances which are part of the drug abuse. So what are the substances which are generally part of the drug abuse, especially in adolescents. Heroin is a form of drug, cocaine, alcohol, smoke and smokeless tobacco, cannabis or marijuana, other cheap substances, and MDMA. This is also one type of a drug variety. So these are the drug varieties which are generally used by different groups, especially the adolescent people. So the government's program of making India drug free include all of these drug varieties. Okay, all of these drug varieties. Now we understood the substances that lead to the drug abuse. We should also understand the consequences of drug use. See, these consequences are very important. You have to write these consequences in the UPSC mains examination or your state PSC mains examination, right? So the consequences include health consequences. The first, see, drug abuse increases the morbidity and mortality among the people. The suicidal tendencies, the psychological stress or distress will increase, and that will also aggravate the health like conditions, and it will lead to morbidity and mortality among women. Right. So these are the different aspects or the different dimensions of the consequences of drug use. So apart from this, the family, so there will be fights and there will be a separation or the divorce among the partners. Along with that, there is a loss of trust. Okay, there will be loss of trust within the family, so that the family bonds will be dismantled because of the increased drug usage. And what will be the social problems? The social problems include stigma and the social isolation. When a person is consuming drugs, there is a probability that the society will stigmatize him, and he will also be isolated from the society. So what will be the occupational consequences? The occupational consequences include absenteeism, reduced trust, loss of job. So it is not just the loss of job. If students are consuming drugs, their learning outcomes will impact, right? So their learning outcomes will also impact, and the probability of getting job, or if they are already in job, they will lose their job, and this will also lead to the reduced trust. What will be the financial consequences? The financial consequences will be over expenditure on drugs. Okay, so the people who are consuming drugs, they are ready to spend higher amounts of money on these drugs, and also a higher debt for people. And what will be the legal consequences? The legal consequences include accidents, probability of accidents, and increasing crime rate, and fights in the society will also increase. So please remember all these consequences. Okay, so please remember and read all these consequences. They are very important for the exam point of view. So the next very important article is regarding E Pharma. Okay, so we all are aware about the E Pharma. E Pharma is also similar to e-commerce. E-commerce, at the comfort of your home, you just order the products which you require, and at the same time, E Pharma makes sure that you don't go to the medical dispensaries, you don't go to the pharmaceutical centers, right? So you just order the required medicine at your home, at the comfort of your home, and the medicine will be delivered at your home. However, the problem with the e-commerce is that there is no regulation. Okay, there is no regulation over the e-pharma, and along with the no regulation, no policy guidelines also from the government side. However, in recent times there has been a substantial growth and substantial increase in the e-pharma sector. Okay, because of the substantial increase in the e-pharma sector, there are several problems which have been generally emanating. So they include that a drug abuse. Okay, they include drug abuse and misuse of drugs. So when you misuse the drugs, when you use drugs without a prescription, that will lead to the microbial resistance. Okay, that will lead to the antimicrobial resistance, where the drugs you already use will not be effective. Right, the drugs will not be effective, and even though you're taking drugs for a particular medicine, for a particular disease, the drugs will not be very effective against that particular disease. Okay, so therefore there has been a misuse because of increasing e-pharma, lack of regulation, lack of policy. There has been a drug abuse, misuse of these drugs, and the people are preferring the self medication. They are just preferring the self medication without actually consulting a doctor. So that will also raise concerns of the problems. And even access to children are also able to order these drugs online. So there is no place or no system to evaluate the adverse drug reactions. Okay, for example, if you go to the doctor, and a doctor will give you a proper prescription based on the conditions. However, when you don't go to the doctor, when you don't have the proper prescription, then there is a possibility that there is an adverse drug reaction if you take drugs ordered through the E Pharma. Okay, so these are all concerns. Along with these concerns, there is no clarity on the drug storage, the E Pharma centers where they are storing these drugs or the conditions, and there is also a no system for immediate recall in case of drugs have problems. Okay, right? So these are all the issues which need to be immediately addressed, particularly the e-pharma sector. If the government has not regulated the e-pharma sector, there is a problem. There is a wide variety of problems. Okay, particularly the antimicrobial resistance. So in this context, we need to understand what is e-pharma. You may have heard about the pharmacy, Apollo Pharmacy, 1mg, Med Life. So these are all e-pharma. So these are e-pharma related delivery partners, right? So they deliver pharmacy or they deliver medicine at your home itself. No need to go to any medical shop. They just deliver all the medicine you require to your home itself. However, there are some benefits from these e-pharma centers or e-pharmacies. So what are those benefits? The benefits include increased accessibility. You not just go to the hospital, or you don't just go to a medical shop. At your home itself, you can order whatever medicine you want. So it increases the accessibility. Since there are several partners, since there are several entities or the companies in the e-pharmacy market, they provide medicines at the competitive prices. Okay, they provide medicines at the competitive prices. So when they provide medicine at the competitive prices, the medicine will be available at lower cost. Okay, the medicines are available at lower cost. It is very convenient for customers. Why it is very convenient for customers? You not just go to you no need to go to the medical shops, and also they provide authentic medicines. The pharmacy provides an improved information. So these are some advantages or the benefits of e-pharmacies. So you have to understand the advantages or the benefits of e-pharmacies, and also the problems with the e-pharmacies or the concerns with the e-pharmacy. Now we'll try and understand the concerns with the e-pharmacy. So what are the concerns with the e-pharmacy? See, the concerns include the unlimited accessibility to the medicines. Already we have discussed the drug abuse, misuse of medicines, and children having access to medicines. So along with those concerns, we also have a separate set of concerns. They include unlimited accessibility to medicines through pharmacy. Okay, and along with that, the sale of substandard and habit forming medicines. So what are the habit forming medicines? These medicines include sedatives, the mood altering drugs. The habit forming drugs include the sedatives and mood altering drugs, and profiling of patients and buyers. And they also collect illegal data about the medical conditions of a particular patient. So these are some of the concerns. So keeping these concerns in mind, even the parliamentary panel, right? So even the parliamentary panel also expressed concerns regarding the exponential growth of the e-pharmacy along with the above concerns. Since the e-pharmacy has the following concerns, the parliamentary panel has also pointed out to the above concerns, right? And it says that the possible misuse of online pharmacies in the absence of regulation. Please remember, in India, there is no regulation with respect to e-pharmacy in India. Okay, so therefore, uh, when there is no regulation, there is a possible misuse of online pharmacies. So mentioned that there are concerns over the distribution of illegal, unethical medicines, outdated, substituted, counterfeit medications. When there is no regulation, there is a high probability of distribution of illegal, unethical medicine, outdated, substandard, or counterfeit medication. So please also understand the e-pharmacy industry has been ever rising or increasing market in India. Okay, so according to some report, it says that the pharmacy market, the e-pharmacy market, okay, the e-pharmacy market in India in the year 2020 to 2027. So 2022 to 2027, it has emerged as a superior and more practical strategy, right? So it is emerged as a more superior and the practical strategy for addressing the consumer problems. Okay, now people are not just going to the hospitals, not just going to the medical shops, right? So this has emerged as a more practical strategy and the superior strategy for various consumer problems, and people also believe that it has been delivering the excellent customer solutions. So in this context, one thing we need to understand that is that the drugs and cosmetic act 1940, the drugs and cosmetic act 1940 regulates the import, manufacturing and distribution of drugs in India. Okay, so there are no regulations, particularly for e-pharmacy, but we have a legislation in place. The legislation is the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940, and this act or this legislation regulates the import, manufacturing, and distribution of drugs in India. Okay, so this is all about the e-pharmacy. Now we need to understand the Nicobar project. Okay, the Andaman Nicobar project, and that has been violating the tribal rights. So this has been quoted by the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. Okay, this has been quoted by the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. Before actually discussing this article, we need to understand what is the Great Nicobar. We need to understand the Great Nicobar Project. So what exactly is the Great Nicobar Project? See, the Great Nicobar Project is the project. It is being implemented by the Andaman and Nicobar Islands Integrated Development Corporation. Okay, so this project is being implemented by the Andaman and Nicobar Islands Integrated Development Corporation. So this project includes the transshipment port, airport, the power plant, and greenfield township. Okay, this constitute these four components. The four components include transshipment port, airport, power plant, and greenfield township. Please also remember the project intends to use 7,140 square kilometers, the 7,114 square kilometers of tribal forest land. Right. So in this tribal forest land, tribals like Shompen, tribals like Shompen and Nicobaris reside. In this Among these tribals, Shompen tribes are also called as the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. These Shompens are particularly vulnerable tribal groups. They are residing in the Nicobar Islands, and they also come under the Nicobar project. Okay, and the government has also expressed that because of this project, no tribal people will be displaced from their habitat. Okay, no tribal people will be displaced from the project because of the implementation of the project. Okay, so this project will take place in the Nicobar Islands. Okay, the Great Nicobar Project. So this includes the transshipment. Okay, this includes the transshipment and the green township, a greenfield a greenfield project, and along with the greenfield project, it also include a power plant and an airport. Okay, this also includes an airport will be constructed, and along with the airport, a power plant for the power generation. A power plant will also be set up as part of the Great Nicobar project. Okay, so please go through all the islands which are located in the Great Nicobar and both Andaman and Nicobar Islands, because they are very important. Please go through the north and south location of these areas. This is the location of North Andaman, and after North Andaman, there is a Middle Andaman, and then the Lower Andaman. Okay, so this is the Sentinel Island. This is the location of the Sentinel Island, and there is also a Saddle Peak. Okay, so you may get the question that Saddle Peak is located in which of the following areas or regions. Okay, so Saddle Peak is located in the Andaman Islands in the Northern Andaman, Middle Andaman, Lower Andaman, and Sentinel Island. So between the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and there is a Little Andaman. Little Andaman is the south of the Andaman Island or south of the Lower Andaman. Okay, so these island chains are called as the Nicobar Island chains. Right, this is the Great Nicobar. This is the location of the Great Nicobar. It is at the exact extreme south. Okay, now understand the island sensitive ecology. It is also important how sensitive the ecology in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, not just fauna but also flora and the particularly vulnerable tribal groups who are living in these areas. Okay, the Great Nicobar Project, may expect turtle and megapode nesting sites, and this impact the turtle and megapode nesting sites, and it will also affect the coral reefs, and uh, this is the assumption by the experts. However, it is home to the coral reef because the Andaman and Nicobar Islands belong to the Indo-West Pacific fauna province. Okay, they belong to the Indo-West Pacific fauna province of Andaman Islands. Okay, so they are actually located in the northwest of the central area of greatest marine biodiversity. So this is also referred to as coral triangle. This is also referred as coral triangle. At least 400 species of corals may eventually be found in these island chain, both Andaman and Nicobar island chain. Okay. However, along with these measures, all islands have high coral reef, mangrove, and marine biodiversity. The Great Nicobar Island, where is Nicobar Island is located? Here, the Great Island Nicobar is located. So this island is endemic to uh, endemic species such as home to endemic species such as the Nicobar megapode. Okay, Nicobar megapode as well as Nicobar tree shrew. So please also understand in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands there is a national park called Galathea National Park. Okay, the Galathea and other beaches in Little Andaman Island are important nesting site for leatherback turtles. Okay, so they are important nesting sites for the leatherback turtles. Now let's discuss about the issue which is being given in the newspaper. The National Commission for Scheduled Castes, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, sorry, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes says that there have been discrepancies. Okay, there have been discrepancies with respect to the forest clearance. When you are going ahead with the construction of the project, there is a need to, there is a need to clear the forest area because the project aimed at developing these four components in an area of 7,114 square kilometers. So therefore, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes says that there are discrepancies in the forest clearance. Okay, especially the project. So total cost of the project is 72,000 crore project. So this project is known as Great Nicobar Island Development Project. So this project is known as Great Nicobar Island Project. So the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes flagged that there are discrepancies in the forest clearance granted in the 72,000 crore Great Nicobar project. So violations under the Forest Rights Act. We all know that in the year 2006 there was an act called Forest Rights Act was passed. This act gives the forest rights to the people who are living in the forest areas. Scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006. Okay, the project significantly impacts the rights of the local people. Who are the local people? Who are the tribal people? We already discussed Shompens, right? Shompens. So Shompen are tribal people and the Nicobari tribe. Nicobaris tribe. So they also living in the areas which come under the Great Nicobar Island project. So therefore, the project will significantly affect the rights of the local tribesmen, and even while going ahead with the project, even going ahead with the Great Nicobar Island project, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes is not consulted. However, mandated the constitution mandated that the government should consult the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes on any matters, right? On any matters, and that involves the rights of the tribal people. Of course, the tribal people of Shompen and Nicobar is living in the areas which come under the Great Nicobar Island project, but the government not consulted the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes while going ahead with the project. However, the constitution mandated that the government consult National Commission for Scheduled Tribes on any matters that involve the rights of the tribesmen. So therefore, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes flagged alleged discrepancies with respect to the forest clearance. However, National Green Tribunal has also ordered a stay on the project. Okay, it has also ordered a stay on the project, Great Nicobaris Development Project. And the National Green Tribunal is itself constituted a committee, and the committee will revisit the environmental clearances which are given for the construction of this project. Okay, however, the implementation reports of the Tribal Affairs Ministry show that the island administration not recognized, but neither recognized nor granted any ownership of forest land to tribes people. That is actually mandated under the Forest Right Act. So people who are living in the forest areas, their rights to be respected and recognized as per the Forest Rights Act 2016. But while preparing a report by the Tribal Affairs Ministry, the island administration has not recognized or granted ownership of any forest land to tribes people. Okay, under the Forest Rights Act. However, this is actually the prerequisite, the first step to be taken under the Forest Conservation Rules 2017 before actually implementing any such project. Okay, so this is the concern raised by the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. The commission was not consulted, and there are also discrepancies in the forest clearance. Along with that, the Forest Rights Act 2006 provisions were not followed by the government. So therefore, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes raised this concern. Okay, now let's jump into the next important news article. See, this news article is with respect to National Green Tribunal. Okay, National Green Tribunal. So we will discuss about this National Green Tribunal, but before actually discussing this Green Tribunal, first look into this article. The National Green Tribunal is disappointed over delay in removal of burnt waste. Okay, Brahmapuram Yard. So this Brahmapuram Yard is located in Kerala. So last month there was a fire. Okay, so there was a massive fire that broke out in the Brahmapuram Yard. Okay, so that fire led to the a severe air pollution across different parts within the state because of the massive fire, and that has also resulted in a significant generation of waste, and that will have the concerns of soil pollution, water pollution, because that can seep into the groundwater. So therefore the National Green Tribunal disappointed over delay in removal of burnt waste. The burnt waste from the site, okay, the burnt waste from the site has not yet removed. Okay, so therefore the NGT expressed its concern and the disappointment. So there has been a huge delay in the removal of burnt waste or plastic ash. Okay, so that even the refused derived fuel. Okay, refused derived fuel. So what is the refused derived fuel? See, refused derived fuel is we generate huge amount of waste. Okay, so if we generate energy from the waste, and that energy is called as refused refused derived fuel. Okay, refused derived fuel, RDF. Okay, the energy generated from waste is called as refused derived fuel. Okay, so this was a dump yard in Kochi Corporation and Brahmapuram. So the massive fire which was started in March this year. Okay, right. So along with that, the NGT also says that the plan of action, clarification on the plan of action and the timeline within which this could be done. So this could be done, clearing all the waste from the dumping site, because it has a huge risk involved in leaving the site unattended. If you leave the site unattended, there are chances that there will be a soil pollution, water pollution, air pollution. So therefore there should be a proper timeline, and there should be a clarification on the plan of action to how to remove the waste from these areas. So however, the officials have also submitted a detailed proposed waste energy plant and the time required for completing it. Okay, so this is all about the burnt, the burnt landfill in the Kochi Corporation and refused derived fuel and etc. So now uh, we need to understand the National Green Tribunal. Okay, we need to understand the National Green Tribunal. See, National Green Tribunal was a dedicated and disposes the cases related to environment expeditiously. Okay, so it disposes of cases related to environment expeditiously. However, please also understand it is a statutory body. It is a statutory body. So what is the statutory body? Statutory body is a body which is established by a legislation of the parliament, right? This is a statutory body. In UPSC 2018 it is already asked. Okay, so NGT is a statutory body and that has come into force in the year 2010 by an act called National Green Tribunal Act 2010. Okay, so this act is passed by the Parliament of India. However, this act, the National Green Tribunal Act 2010, draws its inspiration from India's constitutional provisions. So what are the constitutional provisions from which it draws its inspiration? First article is Article 21. Okay, Article 21. So Article 21 is about right to life and personal liberty, which also ensures that the citizens of India have a right to healthy environment. In fact, Supreme Court also recognized right to healthy environment is also part of the fundamental right under Article 21. Right. So Article 48A, this is part of the DPSPs. Okay, Directive Principles of State Policies, Article 48A. So this says that the state is endeavored to protect and improve environment and safeguard forests and wildlife of the country. And the next article is Article 51A. So Article 51A is with respect to the duties, the fundamental duties. So it says that um, it is a fundamental duty of citizen. One of the duties said that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment. Okay, so this derives its inspiration not just from the fundamental right but also from the directive principles of state policy under 48A and also the fundamental duties under Article 51A of the Constitution. So we should try and understand the structure of National Green Tribunal. The structure of National Green Tribunal includes a chairperson of National Green Tribunal. He is actually a retired judge of the Supreme Court, and now he's actually the retired judge of the Supreme Court, Justice Lokeshwar Singh Panta. Okay, Justice Lokeshwar Singh Panta became the first chairman of National Green Tribunal. Okay, he was actually the first chairman of the National Green Tribunal. There are other judicial member also along with the chairman. Okay, so they are retired judges of the High Court. So they are the retired judges of the High Court. So there is a one principal judge and the one principal bench that is located in New Delhi. There are other regional benches also. The West Regional Bench is in Pune, the Central Regional Bench in Bhopal, and South Regional Bench is in Chennai, and East Regional Bench in Kolkata. Now, each bench has a geographical jurisdiction, right? So each bench has a geographical jurisdiction. So we have discussed about the Kochi Corporation, right? We have discussed about the Kochi Corporation. So therefore, it comes under the South Regional Bench. Okay, it comes under the South Regional Bench. Now, South Regional Bench is located in Chennai. Now, what is the working of the National Green Tribunal? Now, India become only the third country to have a specialized environmental tribunal. Okay, so India is only the third country to have such a specialized environmental tribunal, only after Australia and New Zealand. Please remember all these facts. These facts are very important, very important for prelims examination, right? So apart from this, the National Green Tribunal is also mandated to dispose of a case within 6 months. So whenever a case comes before the NGT, it should dispose of the case within 6 month period after filing the case. The chairperson is appointed by the central government after having consultations with the Chief Justice of India. So once the central government consulted with the Chief Justice of India, then the central government will appoint a chairman. Who is the chairman? Chairman or the chairperson is the former or the retired judge of the Supreme Court. Okay, so NGT also enjoys certain powers and jurisdiction. What are the powers? So apart from the original jurisdiction, NGT also has an appellate jurisdiction. Okay, so it also has an appellate jurisdiction. NGT is not bound by the procedure laid down Code of Civil Procedure 1908. Okay, so it is actually not bound by the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. Instead, it is guided by the principles of natural justice. Okay, it is guided by the principles of natural justice. Now, apart from that, we also have, so NGT deals with the civil cases under 7 laws. See, this is very important. UPSC may ask about this. So, which of the following NGT, which of the following laws NGT can deal with? Okay, NGT can deal with. Sorry. So right, the first legislation is Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. First, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, and then Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess 1977, and the Forest Conservation Act and Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Environmental Protection Act 1986, and Public Liability Insurance Act. So these are the 7 legislations. Okay, so these are the 7 legislations with which the National Green Tribunal usually deals with. So please go through all these legislations, right? The Public Liability Insurance Act, the Environment Protection Act, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, Forest Conservation Act, etc. Okay, so the next very important news article is about painted stock. Okay, this is about the painted stock. So this article has been saying that, so one of the largest flocks of painted stocks, so approximately 4,000 birds, have made tall trees in Vipapuram and Venkatapuram villages in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so painted stock. We will understand what are the painted stock, what are their habitats, but first understand the article. Okay, so they are generally found in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so now it says that 4,000 birds have made a tall trees in Vipapuram and Venkatapuram villages in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so this is Andhra Pradesh is one of their breeding grounds. Andhra Pradesh is one of the breeding grounds of the painted storks, right? They're currently looking after the 6,000 chicks. Right. So May end to June end, when the chicks are more than 3 months old, they will fly away from their breeding grounds. Okay. So when the chicks will be 3 month old, they will be fly away from the breeding ground in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So along with the adults. Okay. So they mostly inhabit wetlands. They mostly live in the wetland areas. Okay. They mostly live in the wetlands, in the plains, and breed closer undisturbed areas and protected trees. Okay, so this is actually their location or the habitat of the painted stock. Okay, now try and understand this. So it is found in the wetlands and plains of the tropical Asia. It is found across the tropical Asia, south of Himalayas in Indian subcontinent. Then it also extends to Southeast Asia. Okay, so males and females appear alike. So males and females are not same. Males are usually larger than the females. Males are generally larger than the females. However, the painting stocks nesting in colonies. Okay, they are not single, but they live in colonies. Often become centers of tourist attraction due to their large size. They also become the centers of tourist attraction. However, they feed on small fish. Okay, they feed on small fish, and they can sense by touch while slowly sweeping the water. Okay, while slowly moving the water, they can sense the fish, and they feed on such fish. Okay, so along with that, the largest secure population are found in India. Okay, so please remember, this is very important. The largest secure population is found in India. So birds in Pakistan in the Indus River system are endangered. Okay, they are endangered as chicks are taken away by bird trade. So in Pakistan, the chicks are generally taken away for bird trade. They usually arrive in the city in November. So they usually arrive here in November. So this is all about the painted stock. Okay, this is all about the painted stock. So please remember all these points. So these are all important and relevant articles for today's discussion. Okay, thank you.